Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Band Rants channel, your home for NFL projections, predictions, and of course, your periodic rant. And for most of you, Merry Christmas, because I probably won't make another video until after the holiday. But in this video, it's going to be a little bit of a treat. I'm going to do my Week 15 analysis, talk about Week 16 and the entire playoff picture. And before I get into all of that, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and we'll go ahead and we'll get started here. Also, again, happy holidays to those of you who are watching today. So, obviously, I had to wait a little bit this week. I didn't have a choice because we had games happen on Tuesday because of the COVID pandemic, moving some games a couple of days ahead. So, now that that's over, I can go over everything. So, the only games I missed out of 15, I only missed 4. I did a little bit better this week. I missed the Lions. I think everybody missed that one. And the Saints shutting out Tampa, which I never would have guessed in a million years. The Colts and Steelers, of course, obvious flips between the two. These were difficult games to call out of the entire AFC. And honestly, I really was surprised by Tennessee. Maybe not Indianapolis because they've been getting hot at the right time, but so is New England, and we could see these two teams in a rematch in the postseason, but we're not going to count our blessings, too soon here. Let's go over everything in the NFC and AFC. So Week 16, I'm going to just do my Thursday pick right away. I'm going to go with San Francisco. Even though Tennessee is just coming off a loss, I do still think they're going to be a lock for the AFC South. I just don't think they're going to lock it in this week. And the Colts are actually making it interesting right now, which is something I talked about in the offseason, where Tennessee was my pick, but the Colts could potentially make it interesting. And we've seen that so far. But now we'll go over the rest of the week, and I'm going to talk about the playoff picture, and you'll be able to see all the teams change in live time as I do this. So I think the Packers on Saturday, they're going to win fairly easily against the Browns. I think the Browns are just about not necessarily completely finished, but I think this is sort of where they start to fall behind in the wild card race. And for the record, I've actually had the Browns record almost dead on this year. The only mistake I think I made was they would lose to the Vikings and beat the Chargers, or vice versa, in some sort of way. But for the most part, I got their schedule right. I had a lot of Browns fans say, oh, they'll beat the Cardinals and they'll be able to beat the Steelers. And I said no. I said they were going to probably split the series with Baltimore, split the series with maybe the Bengals, and lose to the Cardinals and Patriots. But so far, I've been almost dead on about that. And Green Bay is my pick and was my pick to win it all in the NFC North. We know they clinched last week. I think they're going to be making some strides toward home field advantage. Cardinals, Colts. This is actually probably the toughest game on the docket to call, and I'm not kidding, between these two teams. So I'm going to put a bookmark and come back to that. We'll do Sunday and come back to the Monday night game. I think the Eagles are going to win fairly easily against the Giants. I think they lost the last one, but the Eagles have a lot more to fight for right now than the Giants do. And this, if not already, will officially eliminate the Giants from postseason contention. Tampa, I think they're going to win against Carolina coming off of a loss. Even though the Panthers have statistically owned Tom Brady with Cam Newton, I don't think that's going to be the case this time. There's no Christian McCaffrey. The Panthers at this point would just be playing spoiler. And Tampa coming off of a loss has a big chip on their shoulder, especially trying to get possibly home field advantage. Also, with this win, they'd clinch the NFC South. I think the Falcons will beat the Lions, although don't be surprised if the Lions make that a fun game to watch. But at this point, they're probably just contending for a draft position. They don't want to obviously pull a New York Jets and put themselves in a worse position. Rams and Vikings, another tricky one. The Vikings actually and Rams are both coming off big wins, and I think the Rams actually are going to be in a good position. I think the Vikings are going to play with a lot more grit this time around, and I think they're going to pull off the upset over Matthew Stafford, a team he knows very well in the Minnesota Vikings. He's played them his whole career. And I think this year the Vikings are going to have a little bit more on the plate in terms of offense than the Rams will. And I know that might seem surprising with Cooper Kupp leading the league in, I believe, passing yards and receptions, but don't underestimate the Vikings here. I think they're going to be a bit of a formidable opponent in December. Bears and Seahawks, not much there. Seattle probably wins. And I'm thinking Dallas is probably going to beat Washington, although that could be an upset, but I'll leave it as Dallas for now. Ravens, I think, will upset the Bengals, Patriots, and Chargers. Chargers should win fairly easily. Same thing with the Jets and the Raiders, although the Broncos could make that game really interesting. That's a big rivalry. Steelers and Chiefs, no Tyreek Hill possibly, no Travis Kelce possibly, although I do think that the Chiefs are still going to somehow find a way to pull it off. I think the Steelers long-term are screwed. I think this year they're going to be pretty average. And this could be the last time you see the Steelers clinch a winning or even non-losing record under Mike Tomlin, but I'll get to that later. Saints be able to beat the Dolphins, and then Colts and Cardinals. The Colts have been getting hot, and the Cardinals have been kind of cooling down lately. No DeAndre Hopkins. This is going to be a statement win for the Cardinals that they desperately need. I'm going to give it to them. Although the Colts, don't be surprised if they pull it out. So looking at the rest of the playoff picture for all these teams, I think that all my division picks from day one, with the exception of the Ravens, are almost locks to get it. I flip-flopped on the Chiefs a little bit, and I wish I hadn't. Also, I didn't pick the Patriots to win the division. I said they could make it close, but the Bills have just been a letdown this year in terms of what they were last year to what they are now. They've been a total, I won't say a complete failure because they're still a decent team, but they have obviously had a lot of setbacks. Now, week 17, this is where a lot of things start to come to fruition. Patriots are probably going to lock up the division this week, as will the Titans, I think, as well. They have the tiebreaker over the Colts, so all they need is a win. Chargers, I think, can lock up a berth with that win, although they might need a little bit more help than that. Browns and Steelers, I think the Steelers actually win this one and go to 8-7-1 and get the sweep over the Browns, who, at this point, they do have a shot to make it, but at this point, it would be a very, a lot of things would have to go wrong for other teams to make it. Chiefs and Cincy, that's going to be a fun game, and in my opinion, could be a good Sunday night game if the Vikings weren't at a winning record right now, or even at 7-8, they're still a pretty good team in terms of what you have in the conference. Raiders and Colts, I'm actually thinking right now the Colts are going to pull that one out. As much as I respect the Raiders and I think they have improved, the Colts have just been a complete turnaround with Carson Wentz and Frank Reich reuniting. And I think that with Phillip Rivers gone, obviously you have to worry about the quarterback position going in. But when you get Carson Wentz, this is the best he's looked since his MVP season. I think the Niners, Bucks, and Bills are all going to win fairly easily. I think the Packers will get a revenge game over the Vikings and secure home field advantage, by the way. Philly will win. Seattle will win. The Bears will get a win over the Giants. New Orleans against Carolina, that's got upset written all over it, but I still think the Saints will win and keep it interesting for another week. And Dallas is probably going to beat Arizona, although don't be surprised if Arizona pulls that one out. Rams and Ravens, coming off of a loss, I think the Rams are probably the favorites to win here. And Chiefs and Bengals, they're going to get Tyreek Hill back, they're going to get Travis Kelce back. It's just too much for the Bengals to overcome. Now, week 18, this is where we start to lock in a lot of what hasn't already been locked in. I'm just going to scroll down so you guys can see. Chiefs, by the way, at this point will have already locked in home field advantage because of their win over Denver, which I'm projecting they get, so don't worry about the top seed there. I think the Cardinals win. I think the Rams are probably going to find a way to beat San Francisco and put them at 10-7, go to 12-5 themselves. And they actually have a shot at the division if the Cardinals lose, which I don't believe they will. Bucks will win. Even if they rest starters, I actually still think the Lions are going to lose to Green Bay. Vikings will probably win against the Bears, keep their playoff hopes alive, at least temporarily. Dallas and Philly, that actually could be a Sunday night game, although, I think... you never really know with these kinds of games. Browns and Bengals. I think the Bengals actually get a win there. Ravens and Steelers. Ravens will probably get a win and move to 10-7 and clinch the division barely by Pats and Dolphins. Patriots have already locked the division up. They'll basically be locked into the 2 seed no matter what happens in that Tennessee game. So they could rest starters, but I actually think the Patriots are probably going to want to play with some grit and get a revenge win against Miami. I think they'll win that one. Tennessee over the Texans fairly easily. Colts over the Jags fairly easily. Bills over the Jets easily. And the Chargers are already locked into a playoff berth. I think the Raiders actually are probably going to win. And this will just affect their position, not necessarily their playoff lock. It would just be a different position. So with that being said, NFC, Washington and the Giants both are already out. I think Washington gets a win on the road against the Giants, and you could see Joe Judge get fired. Saints and Falcons, again, no implications here for the Falcons. Saints are probably going to win it because they have a shot to make the postseason. Now, if Philadelphia wins against Dallas, San Francisco actually would get knocked out. That is a very, very interesting scenario. However, if the 49ers were to win, the Saints would miss the postseason. Now, it's almost weird to see a 10-7 team miss the postseason, but it's very possible. I do still think the Rams are going to win it, however, although if they, really doesn't affect their seeding at this point, because if Arizona wins, which I do believe they will, if they don't and San Francisco wins, it would look kind of like this. The Cardinals would be there, but if the Rams were to win, it would look kind of like this, and the 49ers actually, their playoff odds aren't really that good, with the Saints improving, with Philadelphia improving. But either way, this is what I have right now for the playoff picture, and it would look something like this. You'd have it be Colts and Ravens. You'd have it be Chargers, Titans, Bills and Patriots in another rematch, which I don't know how that would go. Rams and Cardinals, Eagles, Cowboys, Saints and Bucks, and a lot of teams